Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of Selenium training. So in this session we are going to talk on properties file. So in previous session we have already talked about XML file, XLSX file, why they are used in automation and how we maintain test data in XML and also XLSX files and all those things. So in this session we are going to see very important concept in automation, why we use properties files for automation and how it is a lightweight component in automation and how can you maintain test data in properties file. So before that I just like to give some small introduction for 2 minutes and then we will jump to the demo. So today's agenda is we will discuss on what is properties file, what is the structure of properties file and why properties files are used in automation. So what is properties file? So you might have seen an XML file. It has tags or tree kind of structure. But this properties file is having a storage of key value mechanism. So it stores your test data in the form of key and value. Say for example, you want to provide some URL in your application. So you will give QA is equal to and some URL which you need. So it's completely key value pair which is appended with equal to sign. And the next thing is properties file is mainly used in Java technologies to store configurable parameters of application. And also it is used for internationalization or localization testing in order to store your strings because there might be different applications for different languages. So to support this internationalization and localization, we have to store some language parameters. So these properties files will handle it in a better way. And the file extension of this file is dot properties. You have to create with dot properties. And how and why properties file are used in automation? It can store your application URLs, environment details and DB details and all those. And also the test data related to your application. If at all you want to store some values like first name, last name and date of birth and which are being frequently used, then you can use this properties file to store your test data related to the application fields. And then also the most importantly, these properties files are used to store SQL queries. Most of them use properties file to store their SQL queries. You cannot store these SQL queries in your XML file or you cannot store this in XLS also, because even if you use an Excel file, the queries which you write being integrated and it will be more in future. So the load or the weight of this Excel will be more when compared to properties file. So when we maintain properties file for storing these SQL queries, it is very fast readable and it can access data in a very easy way. Okay, so that's the reason we use this properties file. Let me show you some sample file how it looks like. So you can see here the environments dot properties is the extension that we use. I'll show you how to create this file and you can see a simple structure of properties. I have a key and a value. The one which you see left side is a key and the one which you see the value assigned to it is a value. So QA URL is equal to my URL and I can store the browser details. I can store the environment is equal to QA and I can store the queries as well. For example, I want a count query. So I have written some query here which will get uh, the count of rows for the employee. So I can this way I can store all the queries or all the environment details in the properties file. And how to implement this properties file and how to read this properties file, how to read these values, we will see in the demo now. So you have to use only two classes for this program. It is very simple program and you have to use two classes. That is, one is properties and other one is file input stream. Remember, in order to read any file, it might be XML file or XLSX file or any file, dot properties file or a simple notepad file. For everything you need file input stream. Okay, and the properties is the class that will help us to read this dot properties file. Now let us switch to Google and I'll show you how this properties class looks like. Properties class in Java. So let me go to an official document. You can see here class properties is from java.util, and you can see the properties class represents a persistent set of properties. The properties can be saved to stream or loading from a stream. Each key and its corresponding value in the property list is a string. You can see here we are storing everything in the form of strings, as I said, your key and value, right? And also the property list can contain another property list as defaults. The second property list is searched in the property key is found in the original property list. So we are not bothered about these deeper concepts now, but we will concentrate on how to get this class and how to read the properties file, and also how there are particular methods to load the properties. You can see here there is one method called load. You can see here this is the method that we are going to use. You can see load input stream. Here we will be providing our file name. Okay, reads a property list key and element pairs from the input byte stream. So this will load and it will read the values that are present there. Okay, so let's see how to implement that. Firstly, let me create one properties file. I have XML and XLS file here in test data folder. So let me create new properties file. So I'll click new file and I'll give environments dot properties and click on finish. So my properties file is created. Now I can assign the values here. I'll say QA URL is equal to HTTP. You don't have to provide double quotes. That's the main formula here. devwebapp.com. Okay, so let me quickly copy paste some existing values that I already have. Okay, now my properties file is ready. Okay, so let me create a package and class to read this properties file and get these values. So let me create a package read properties file. So let me create a class inside this read from. I'll call it as read from properties file, and let me have a main method. Okay, I have my main method. Okay, now let me declare a properties file. In order to access any methods for any methods related to properties, we have to import or we have to declare an object for that, right? So let us create an object for properties, and I'll call it as same properties, and I'll be giving new. Okay, so we are calling a constructor here. You can see constructor properties creates an empty property list with no default values, but when we start loading using this method it will get the values. Okay, so let me import this. Import properties, it's from java util. You have already seen here java.util. So let me import here. Now let me declare file input stream as I said you. File input stream, and I'll call it as input stream is equal to file input stream. So my file is inside this test data and in my project folder, right? So how do we declare that? We have to get the user dot directory which will get the root. So give system dot get property. Okay, and here just provide user dot dir which will provide you the base path. Okay, then what you have to do is you have to give the rest of the path. Okay, so my folder name is test data, right? So I'll be giving test data. I'll be giving test data and again slash. You know that we have to use double slashes for everything, and my file name is environments, right? So I'll be giving environments, and my extension is properties, right? So I'll just separate my extension and the property, so that in future if I add any other properties file, I can just simply rename the file name and not this suffix. Okay, so we are done with the declaration. Let me see. Yeah, so let us import this file input stream. Yeah, so here it will ask you to create in file input stream string. Okay, so we have to give here new, because since it's a new file. Okay, now add throws declaration. So we have declared the file. Now we have to load this file, right? So how do we load that? We have to use the method called load, right? So we have to take this object properties dot load. You can see here the input stream void properties. Okay, so let me provide this object here, this reference. Now again it will ask you to import the throws declaration. Now, so I want to get a value from this properties file. Say for example, I want to get QA URL value. So I want to print this value. So how do I do that? So just declare system.out.println. I'll call it as QA URL is. Then you have to use a method called dot property. Okay, so this is for loading, and to get the value you have to use dot property. So you have to again take these properties. Okay, dot get property of, you have to specify the value which you need in double quotes. So I need this QA URL. Let me copy this, and in double quotes I am going to provide that. Okay, now if I run this program, I'll be getting this value here. So let me run this program. See, QA URL is http dev, sorry, some, yeah, I think I have to provide here QA, sorry for that, and here prod. Okay, so let me save this, let me run this. Yeah, you can see QA URL is printed. Now, for example, I need this Google URL. So let me change it here, and then let me run this. See, I have, okay, here I need to change Google URL. See, Google URL is google.com. Now, say for example, I want to pass this value into our program. Okay, so what I need to do is, since it's a string, I'll be storing this URL in a string variable, and I'll call it as properties dot get property of Google underscore URL. So I'll be getting this value inside this URL. Now I will use this URL to pass into my program. So let me declare WebDriver Manager here for a simple Chrome browser. Chrome driver dot setup. Okay, so import this WebDriver Manager. Okay, here we have a method. One second. Okay, some spelling mistake I hope. So I already have a code. So I'm using this. Let's import all the packages. Now you can see I'm passing this URL inside this string URL, right? So I already have a URL. I'm passing it here to open it in my browser, right? So now let me run this program. Before that, let me print this value also, system.o URL. Simply I'll pass URL and let me comment this. Now let me run this program. See, you can observe this Google page is open, right? So I have not hard coded my URL. I have provided using this properties file, and you can see the console as well. The URL is printed in the console. Okay, this way we can use this properties file to read the values from this, and you can specify as many values as you need, and also you can provide the queries here, and you can pass these queries as a string so that it will execute and provide you the results. So this way this is important to use properties file in your automation. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll be meeting with the other session. We'll be starting with the JUnit in the next sessions. So please put your comments and please keep learning. Thank you and have a nice day.